I often say that I'm not the biggest fan of heritage units and special interest ones, even though I go out for them all the time. Generally, my favorite units are the really old ones. And in May, I got bombarded with loads of ancient EMDs. A great example of my heritage unit somewhat distaste is on May 2nd. I was out this day to catch NS 8114 leading on 29P. However, before it arrived, a consist that I was way more happy about catching showed up. A Union Pacific Elkhart originating manifest with two SD70Ms. These things are pretty old for EMD standards and are actively being retired and stored by Union Pacific. So it was awesome to see a duo on Norfolk Southern rails in 2025. Even though I had already gotten the shot that I knew was going to be the highlight of the trip, 8114 was still coming, and I was still out here. So I decided to make an extra effort to get a great shot of it. With it being the evening, I knew the lighting would be better on the other side of the tracks, so I crossed them, and only about 5 minutes after I did that, 29P showed up with 8114 beautifully in the lead. It also had this neat patched triple crown truck trailer in the middle of the train. On May 11th, this happened. I was planning to go pacing with my dad again on this day, checked the Delsler cam just to see what was coming, and saw B157 with an SD40-3 SpongeBob Square Cab in the lead. I was flabbergasted when this consist passed Delsler. And so I rescheduled the trip to be a little earlier so that, I could actually catch this unit. As we were driving to Walkerton, we passed over a bridge to get to the correct side of the CSX line, and the train cleared. In a panic, we were like, oh crap. We popped a Yui, flew back across the tracks, and then took Highway 6 and blasted to Alida, Indiana. We pulled over at the first crossing, and there it was. We just barely beat it here. It was so cool to get to see this consist in person. I have had actual dreams about getting standard cabs leading on the main line, so it was so crazy to see it. Now, this is a square cab rebuild, but it's probably the closest I'm ever gonna get. I had been hoping to pace the square cab, but that was definitely out of the question now. I still wanted to do pacing though, so we headed back to Walkerton, and along the way, we passed through Wellsboro, Indiana, and at the co-op grain elevator there, I noticed Chesapeake, Indiana 813. I promptly pulled over and got plenty of photos of 813 here. This unit is obviously, as you can tell by the paint, an ex-DM&IR unit, an EMD SDM, which is an SD9 rebuild. Just another ancient EMD to add to the list. We finally made it to Walkerton and noticed quite a heavy MAU presence, especially for this being a Sunday. None of the equipment was active, but it was here, so that was pretty cool. We had to wait quite a while for a train, and eventually one did show up, and a pretty good one at that. CSX I-135, which is a BNSF transfer train, fittingly with a BNSF Gevo in the lead and one of the questionable boxcars behind it. This train came by Delschler like 2 hours after the square cab, so I was expecting it to be just some random train, but nope, it was this one. Cue the music. Then, a CSX manifest appeared. It was really cool to see the CSX manifest do a perfect meet with the I-135. We were hoping it would have a DPU, but it turned out to just be a sad one-unit wonder. But speaking of DPUs, the BNSF train did have one. And a combination of curiosity to see what it was, and the fact we had to drive that anyway, and the fact this was just a really good train, we decided to catch it one more time at Range Road Crossing in Kingsford Heights. As we were driving over the same overpass that started this whole debacle, we caught a glimpse of I-135 in the distance before snaking around to ground level, crossing the tracks to the non-backlit side, and getting one more shot of I-135 as it cleared the crossing. Sadly for us, the DPU wasn't another BNSF engine, but it did do this really awesome highlight over the window as it passed by. And to round out this trip, we have May 17th. On this day, I actually went to the Hoosier Valley Railroad Museum, which will be covered in a future video. But anyways, on the way back, we were making a stop in Malden, Indiana, and in Malden is this. A ex-BNSF, ex-Santa Fe Bluebonnet GP9U rebuild GP9, originally numbered 2263 and currently numbered 1653. As you can see, the BNSF patch is certainly faded. This locomotive is owned by the Co-op Grain Elevator in Malden, similar to the 813 in Wellsboro, which we saw earlier in this video. The locomotive sits here most of the time, which is, funnily enough, the first thing you see when you drive into Malden from the south, so it basically acts as a billboard for the town. Funnily enough, that there are actually 3 Santa Fe Jeeps in Indiana. Yeah, this is only one. I hope to see the other 2 eventually. On our way back, we stopped in Thomaston, Indiana, just to see if there was any CKN activity, and there were 2 SD40-2s, but I was hoping to see the 815 SDM, which I know is stored here in Thomaston sometimes, but it wasn't here. Oof. Anyways, that's all for this video. Make sure to catch those units while you can, especially the really, really old ones, and I'll see you in the next video.